it interesting how one moment can connect to another moment and it creates an event? And how this intersection of events creates an opportunity to experience something wonderful that not just changes your perspective, but maybe even changes your life in a little bit. Well, let me tell you about a couple of times where that's happened to me. Yes, I was born in Sierra Leone. Now, for those of you that are not familiar, Sierra Leone is a beautiful country on the west coast of Africa. We've got white sand beaches, palm trees filled with all kinds of fruits, and every single day we have the best rice on the planet. Now, my father works in a business that requires a lot of international travel, and most of the time, whenever our family was able to go, we would travel with him. So you can imagine how excited we were because we've been a lot of places already, and I've been to New York, and it's fabulous. So he came home and he told us, guys, we're moving to the United States of America. So we packed up all of our things. We got on a flight and we flew for what felt like a little bit of forever. And then we got in a car and we drove and we drove and we drove and we drove and we finally pulled up into the driveway of our brand new house in McAlester, Oklahoma. Now, for those of you that have never been to McAlester, or if you've never been to New York, let me tell you, they are not the same place, and I was not happy about it. So I pouted for a weekend, and Monday rolls around, and my mother enrolled me and my sisters into school. One of my sisters is older. She went to the middle school, and I have a sister that's just 14 months younger than me. So we were enrolled in the same elementary school. When we arrive, both of our teachers are in the office, and they greet us and walk each of us down to our respective classrooms. And whenever we get to my classroom, the teacher opens the door, and she says, "Okay, everyone, this is our new student, Kenya." My name is not Kenya, and I am not from Kenya. So I introduced myself, and she just showed me to my seat. We went through the morning routine for all of the activities, and one of those included group activities, and no one talked to me. I asked questions, I tried to give input, I made suggestions, nothing. So I started looking around the class, and there were all these really cool little pictures of kids on the wall, and ABCs, and 1, 2, 3s, and words. And I noticed that it looked like I really didn't belong there. Maybe they didn't know I was coming, I don't know. So then, fast forward, we have lunch, which included no fruit, no rice, and then we go to recess. So I seek out my little sister because I know that she is probably having the similar experience. But I asked her, "Hey, how is your first day going? What do you think? Do you like it?" She said that she did not like it. She did not like the food. She did not like the people. And no one spoke to her except for one little girl who made fun of her name. Now, my sister's name is Amanatu, but for short we call her Natu. So this little girl would say things like, "You are not to use my crayons, and you are not to sit next to me, or you are not to color the same thing that I'm coloring." And so my big sister instincts kicked in immediately, and I said, "Point her out to me." And she did. So I walked right over there to her, and I said, "Hey, listen, my sister told me that you've been making fun of her name. She doesn't like it. It's not very nice. Please stop." Well, some of her friends were around, and I think that she didn't want to be embarrassed, so she decided that it was a better idea to make fun of my little sister while I was standing right there. So she makes fun of her name again, and I asked her to stop. She makes fun of her name again. So right there at recess in front of everybody, I just hit her, and she stopped. Good for her. Yeah, good for her. I told my little sister, if anything else happens this afternoon, let me know, because we can revisit this conversation after school. So we get back into the classrooms, and whenever I sit down, the little girl next to me, she leans over and says, "Hey, my name is Amanda, but everyone calls me Mandy." Okay. Hey, Mandy. No, I saw what you did at recess. I really want to go by Amanda. Can you do something about that? Oh, yeah, sure. Excuse me, Mrs. Harden. This is Amanda, but everyone calls her Mandy. Can we all just start calling her Amanda? So we started calling her Amanda because that's her name and that's what she chose. And from that day forward, I earned my first American nickname, the Fixer. So at recess, for about 3 weeks, kids would come up to me and they would tell me, this person's done this. Can you go do something about it? This person said this to me. Go fix it. And I would, and I made a lot of great friends. It was fun until I got sent to the principal's office because they called my mother. So my mother, on the other end of the phone, told me that I had to stop hitting the kids at school. And I told her, well, no, Mama, I'm the fixer. This is good. I'm helping children and I'm making people feel better. And she said, well, you're making some people feel better, but you're also making other people feel worse. You have to find a way to help people without hurting people. You have to be able to help people without hitting. Use your words. You know a lot of them. So fast forward through life, I decided that it made sense that I joined the police force because, I've been fighting petty crimes since 2nd grade, so it worked out. And so I did. But as you might imagine, working on the police force, there were some institutional things that were very challenging and made it really difficult for someone like me to continue on the force. So I decided, maybe this isn't the best fit. I should do something else. But I still want to intervene in the lives of people. So I thought, take a step back. Maybe instead of working with adults after they've made maybe not a great decision, I should work with children. So I decided I should be a special education teacher. Fantastic work. Shout out to all the teachers. Good stuff. But what I found was when I was working with these children, I had these limitations by administration that wouldn't really allow me to get into the family like I really felt like I needed to. So I decided to go back to school and get a master's in social work. So I applied and was accepted to the University of Oklahoma, and I attended the campus in Tulsa. Now, I went to the initial meeting, and I did my enrollment, did my financial aid, completed all my paperwork. But as I was walking down the halls, I noticed that there were all these pictures, and I realized that there was a theme to these pictures. They were old pictures. You could tell. They were in black and white. They were historical. But the people in the pictures were almost completely Caucasian, male, about the same size. They looked about the same age. And none of them looked like me. None of it looked like I was supposed to be there or that I belonged. And I got that same feeling that I had in 2nd grade when I looked around the classroom. So I thought, well, this is probably just this hallway. It's not the whole entire campus. And at that time, it was summer. I wasn't teaching summer school, so I had plenty of time. I decided to take a walk. I walked the entire campus, found the same thing. There were 3 exceptions. Everything else was exactly what I saw in the administration hallway. So I decided to ask some questions, talk to some people. Who do I need to talk to about these pictures? Because some of them were just kind of in poor taste. Some of them were just historic, but some of them were absolutely offensive. And I thought, who can I find that can help do something about this? And I asked questions, and I was given some information and some directives, and I ran into a roadblock here or there, and I ran into a couple of speed bumps, but eventually we found someone, and that person took the things that I was saying seriously. I explained that there were some other students that I've shared the same feeling with, and we all are uncomfortable. And some of us are more than just a little uncomfortable, we're really offended. And the result of that conversation was that we started changing pictures. But not only are there new pictures, now there's a new policy. And that policy is that 2 out of every 3 groupings of pictures are being replaced with color photos, with photos that represent the current student body, as well as the current employment. And these pictures are not only changing now, they will continue to change. Because the entrance to the school, and the people that come will continue to change. And we want it to look like whoever is there is welcome. So moving forward, we're thinking, okay, well, I'm talking about things that have happened to me, and this whole thing is not about me. It's really about empowering people to empower others. So just for 2 minutes, imagine with me that we're going to host a dinner party for the entire world. So let's invite everybody, people from all the countries. That's a good idea, right? Because that's diversity. We should do that. So we do. Okay, let's do more. Let's make sure that when they get there, that they have a seat at the table and there's a place for everyone when they get there. Man, that's better because that's inclusion. But I feel like we can do more. I feel like there's something else we can offer. So how about we make a really diverse menu so that everyone that shows up to the dinner has a chance to eat? Instead of assuming that everyone wants steak and potatoes, because maybe for religious or health or just personal preference, not everybody eats beef. So let's not assume those things. I want to offer a couple of just real-life things because that was just a pretend example. But in real life, what can we do? Well, on a national or state level, we can vote. We can write, email, text, or contact our congressperson. Man, this is America. We can actually run and become our congressperson. But I get it. Politics is not everyone's endgame, and it doesn't need to be. But if you're a student or if you're an employee, what about looking around where you are and see if the images that are on display really communicate the messages that you believe? What if when the people come in, they actually can feel like they should be there? But I also know that for those of you that are extreme introverts, that's still kind of a tall order. But I have something that every single one of us can do. Now, this is kind of a well-kept secret, but I'm willing to tell you it's not that many of you. One thing that every single person can do is learn people's names. Learn people's names, learn how to pronounce them correctly, and learn what they want to be called. We're all the experts on our own names. It's okay to ask. Now, some of us have some pretty uncommon names, and I will tell you, if we have an uncommon name, we are fully aware of the fact that we have an uncommon name. So, we don't even expect you to get it right the first time. There's no pressure. We don't even expect you to get it the second time. It's not hard to ask. Please ask. In fact, for me, every time someone asks me my name and I get to say it, I think about my parents. I think about how loving and how intentional my parents were when giving each and every single one of me and my siblings our names with our meanings. I also think about Sierra Leone and that little piece of paradise that I get to call home. So instead of being ashamed or embarrassed that you have to ask that person their name again, maybe be honored and grateful at the fact that you get to be an agent to deliver that kind of warmth to another human being. And maybe instead of being afraid, you can ask, and that question can help build a bond between you and that person, which brings community, which brings belonging, because at the end of all of this, it's not just about diversity and inclusion. Those are really important, but it's really more about community and belonging. So if a 7-year-old new kid with an attitude because she wasn't in New York can become the fixer, what can intelligent, educated adults become? And more than that, what could we all become together? Well, let's find out.